My name is Vivian Hartwell, and on my grandmother's 85th birthday, my parents handed me a gift box in front of 40 relatives. Gift heartbreak. Everyone smiled. Everyone watched. I opened it. It was empty. Completely empty. Then my father laughed and said, "Seems appropriate. That's about what you've contributed to this family." Everyone laughed. Except Grandma. She stood up, her hands trembling, and quietly handed me an envelope. "Sweetheart, open mine instead." 5 minutes later, people were crying, one person fainted, and 3 secrets buried for decades came crashing down. Because Grandma's note wasn't just a letter. It was a confession, and nothing would ever be the same again. My name is Vivian Hartwell. I grew up in Savannah, Georgia. My father, Douglas Hartwell, loved appearances. My mother, Elaine Hartwell, loved comparisons. And my older brother, Brandon Hartwell, could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I became invisible, not hated, just overlooked. Brandon's trophies filled walls. His photos covered albums. His mistakes were forgiven. Mine were remembered forever. But one person always saw me. Grandma Margaret Holloway. She called me her sunshine. When Mom criticized me, Grandma defended me. When Dad ignored me, Grandma listened. When I struggled through nursing school working night shifts, Grandma secretly mailed grocery money. I never forgot. By age 32, I worked as a pediatric nurse. Not wealthy, not famous, but happy. Meanwhile, Brandon bounced between failed businesses and expensive hobbies. Yet Mom and Dad still treated him like royalty. Then Grandma turned 85. Everyone gathered. Nearly 40 relatives. My cousins, aunts, uncles, and Grandma sat smiling. Halfway through dinner, Dad suddenly announced, "Time for gifts." Brandon received a luxury watch. My cousin Melanie got jewelry. Everyone clapped. Then Mom handed me a tiny box. People watched, smiling. I opened it. Nothing. Empty. Dad laughed. "Seems fitting." Mom chuckled. "Maybe next year she'll contribute something worthy." Some relatives awkwardly laughed. I froze. Humiliation burned. But before I could speak, Grandma slowly stood, and for the first time in my life, I saw anger in her eyes. She walked over, placed an envelope in my hand, and whispered, "Open mine." Inside was a handwritten note. My hands shook. It read, "Vivian, if you're reading this, I finally found the courage." Everyone became silent. Grandma then looked directly at my parents and said, "Tell them." Dad turned pale. Mom froze. Nobody moved. Then Grandma continued, "If you won't, I will." I had never seen fear on Dad's face before. Then Grandma revealed something impossible. 33 years earlier, Dad's company had gone bankrupt. Bills mounted. Foreclosure loomed. And Grandma sold nearly everything she owned. Her jewelry, her land, her retirement savings, to save them. But there was one condition. Every dollar had to go toward raising both children equally. Dad promised. But he lied. Most of the money funded Brandon. Private schools, businesses, cars, everything. And when I asked for help during nursing school, Dad said they couldn't afford it. But Grandma knew the truth. Because she kept records. Every check, every receipt, every promise. The room went silent. Mom burst into tears. Dad couldn't speak. But Grandma wasn't finished. She pointed toward the envelope again. Inside was another letter, and a key, along with instructions. The key belonged to a safety deposit box. One Grandma hadn't opened in 20 years. The next morning, Grandma, my attorney Samuel Grayson, and I visited the bank. Inside was another shock. Documents, photos, letters, and ownership papers. Grandma had quietly invested money for decades. Small amounts, patiently, carefully. The investments were now worth nearly $18 million. I nearly dropped the folder. But that wasn't the biggest surprise. Another letter waited. "Vivian, money means nothing without truth." Then she confessed something heartbreaking. Years earlier, she discovered Dad had borrowed against her savings again. Without permission. And Mom knew. Grandma never confronted them, because she feared losing access to her grandchildren. Instead, she planned quietly, and left everything to me. Everything. Not Brandon, not Dad, me. I cried. Not because of the money. Because she believed in me. Then came disaster. Dad found out. He exploded, calling Grandma unfair, calling me selfish. Brandon accused me of manipulation. But Samuel calmly produced evidence, including signed statements, video recordings, and one sentence Grandma recorded herself. Love isn't measured by who asks louder. The arguments became ugly. Relatives chose sides. Brandon stopped speaking to everyone. Dad moved into a hotel. Mom fell into depression, and I hated every second. Because I never wanted revenge. I wanted family. 3 months later, Grandma suffered a stroke. I spent every evening beside her, reading books, holding her hand, exactly like she'd done for me. One night she whispered, "Promise me something." I nodded, "Don't become bitter." Then she smiled, "And forgive your father. He's weaker than he seems." 2 weeks later, Grandma passed away peacefully. The funeral shattered me, but something unexpected happened. Dad approached me, not angry, broken, older, smaller, and for the first time in 30 years, he cried. Real tears. He admitted everything, his favoritism, his jealousy, his guilt, because Brandon reminded him of himself. And I reminded him of Grandma. Strong, independent, honest, and somehow, that intimidated him. Mom apologized too, not with excuses, with tears. Brandon, he disappeared, almost a year, until one rainy afternoon, he knocked on my door. No fancy clothes, no arrogance, just regret. He looked exhausted, and quietly said, "I think Grandma was trying to save me too." He admitted he'd lived spoiled, dependent, entitled, and now, he wanted to change. I hugged him, because Grandma would have wanted that. Today, Brandon teaches high school history. Dad volunteers at hospitals, Mom gardens, and I founded the Margaret Holloway Children's Foundation. Thousands of sick children receive care. Every room carries Grandma's favorite quote. Kindness is never empty, and every birthday, I keep that tiny empty box. Because it reminds me of something beautiful. Sometimes people hand you emptiness. But God sends someone who fills your life with love. And in the end, Grandma's note changed everything. Never measure your worth by how others treat you. The people who truly love you may not always speak loudly, but their love leaves lasting legacies. And kindness given quietly is never forgotten. If this story touched your heart, thumbs up, like this video. Bell, subscribe to Untold Heart Stories for more emotional family drama stories. Speech balloon, comment below. What would you do if your parents humiliated you in public, only for your grandmother to reveal the truth that changed everything? Crying heartbreak gift scroll.